Hi, my name is Tanya Fluke. I'm with the Office of Career and Technical Education, and I'm conducting this session today about the KTS Data Exchange and attendance processing for technical schools. So this session is specific for technical school administrative assistants or specialists, and it will cover best practices for processing student attendance in the technical school database when considering the KTS Data Exchange. So just some essential information for you, um, just so you understand the importance of attendance, especially as it's related to the KTS, Kentucky Tech schools and the Kentucky Tech systems. Technical school teachers must post period attendance. So this is not negotiable. This is an actual law. So they're bound by law to post period attendance. Technical school clerks must maintain check-in and check-out records. Same thing. This is actually a KRS law. Where you have to maintain check-in and check-out records. As far as how those must be maintained, they can be maintained through a paper record or through a digital record. Technical school clerks must check the classroom monitor to verify teachers have posted attendance. This is a must as well. The classroom monitor, we're going to go over that in a few minutes, but that will help indicate if a teacher has or has not posted attendance. If they have, if they have not, then you should reach out to them and have them post as soon as possible. Teachers should post attendance in the beginning of the period. You can give some time for the kids to come in and get settled in. If you want to give 10 to 15 minutes, that's fine. But if they haven't posted attendance and it's 30 minutes into class, these teachers, they really need to get on a more consistent schedule about posting attendance. Technical school clerks should reconcile daily attendance. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on in the session, but that means that it's recommended, but it's not mandatory. So there are certain situations where you would not reconcile daily attendance. But if you're in a technical school and your technical school principal has told you that you don't have to reconcile daily attendance, of course, listen to your principal, but we always suggest that it is a good practice to reconcile. High school attendance clerks must review technical school attendance data and enter correct attendance into their own district Infinite Campus database. Technical school clerks and high school attendance clerks should keep a continuous open line of communication. Like I've always said from the very beginning, the communication between the schools is the most important thing when it comes to the success of the KTS Data Exchange. Okay, so we're going to go over responsibilities as far as attendance goes from the technical school, for the technical school. So the technical school teachers have the responsibility, like I said earlier, to post period attendance. They must post each period. Comments can be populated on attendance reports, including the KTS Attendance Report, if the teacher decides to add comments. So in this screenshot, which I am not positive, but I think this is the most recent version view of what the teachers see. But basically, it's the same gist where they have their periods located up at the top. They are able to see a roster of their students. The teachers would then go down through and select If they're present, let me just backtrack just a little bit. Kentucky attendance has positive attendance. So what that means is everybody is considered present unless they're marked otherwise. So when a teacher goes in, they automatically see that all students are present. The P's are already marked. It's up to the teacher to mark if the student is A for absent or T for tardy. If they want to enter comments in here, they can enter comments. Whatever comments that they enter here will post on attendance reports. It will show up on student portal, student and parent portal. It will also show up on the KTS attendance report as well. So, you know, everybody needs to keep in mind whatever comments you make, you know, they need to be made with the mindset that these comments are going to be viewed. Another thing is if you, the administrative assistant at the technical school has gone in and made a student absent prior to the class, excuse me, it will show, the A will show up here, but it will be grayed out and it will not allow the teacher to change it. If you make any comments, if the administrative assistant makes any comments in the comment box of the student's attendance record, it will show up for the teacher to see as well. So technical school teachers must report any attendance corrections to the technical school administrative assistants promptly. If they, for example, have accidentally marked a student absent and they saved it and they can't, for whatever reason, can't go back and fix it, that's something that they need to report to you as soon as possible. Okay. So here is your responsibilities as an administrative assistant in a technical school when it comes to attendance. Technical school clerks must update their Infinite Campus database with any attendance corrections. Maintain check-in, check-out records and share that information with the high school clerk. Check the classroom monitor continuously throughout the day to ensure teachers have posted attendance. Run and review the KTS Attendance Report daily. Communicate and work with their high school attendance clerks to ensure the entry of accurate attendance data in the high school IC database. So these are our musts. And like I said, we're specifically going to go through some of these processes here in a little bit, but these are things that you must do in a technical school for attendance responsibilities. Things that you should do, these are optional and encouraged things. You should reconcile attendance in the technical school Infinite Campus database. And what this does, what reconciling does, is it maintains the data integrity. It ensures the KTS attendance report is accurate for the high school. And it assists teachers in making decisions when it comes to makeup work. You can refer to the Attendance for Technical School Clerks documentation, which outlines various ways to maintain and reconcile attendance. And this is what we're actually referring to. And let me show you where you can go to get this document on your own. You can go to the KTS Data Exchange webpage. And then on the right-hand side, if you scroll down under Other Training Resources, you're going to see the KTS Attendance for Technical School Clerks document listed right there. And that's where you can actually get this PowerPoint presentation that we're going over today. Okay, so now we're going to go into the meat and potatoes of what attendance is, and this part doesn't really have anything to do with the KTS Data Exchange, so to speak. It's just how anybody would process attendance and work attendance for any student, regardless of what database you're working in. If it's the high school or technical, it's how you can, different ways that you can process attendance for students. And the first one is through the Student Attendance tab. If you go to the Students record, the actual record, and that's going to be located under Student Administration, I'm sorry, Student Information General. And when you get to Student Information General, and then you can actually, if you're on a student, you can click on the Attendance tab, and that's going to take you to the attendance record. And from there, you can actually input attendance data, modify attendance data, view attendance data, whatever you need there. You can actually create, like, if you click on new, you can create a new attendance event. If you click on period detail, it's going to generate a report that has the period detail information on there. The daily report, the daily detail report has daily information. And the attendance profile is going to show an accumulated list of all of the students' attendance up to this current day that you're actually in. If you're on this page, if you select new, you can create, like I said, a brand new attendance record. If, let's say today, 7/15, 2021, and a student is absent, you would click on new and you would add the attendance record there. Or you can modify any attendance that is listed here by actually clicking on the attendance. It will open up an area where you can make modifications to attendance and save. This method, the student attendance tab method, it's a quick method to get in if you just have individual attendance that you have to do and take care of, but it's not a real efficient way of recording attendance. If you're an attendance clerk at a high school, or if you are taking care of a lot of attendance for a lot of students, it's not going to be the most efficient way, but it is a definite way that you can add attendance. Okay, so I want to explain also about the attendance codes and the excuse codes. So whenever a teacher posts attendance from their Infinite Campus and they mark a student absent, that record, that actual posting is called an unknown absence. That means that teacher does not see that student in the classroom. The student is not in the classroom, but the teacher has no idea why. It hasn't been validated. It has been validated as to the reason why the student is not in the classroom. And so will remain as an unknown absence until the attendance clerk or the administrative assistant in the technical school actually reconciles attendance and turns unknown absences into whole day unexcused absences. And at that time, that's when it becomes an actual attendance, a valid attendance incident. Okay, so that's what I was talking about when it comes to reconciling. Before you reconcile, if you don't reconcile in the technical school database, your attendance for your students will always show as unknown. And that's okay, that's fine. They still show up on the attendance report, the KTS attendance report, for the high school attendance clerks to review. It's just that in your database, you're never going to have an actual validated attendance record for that student if it's left as an unknown absence. So that's why we encourage you to reconcile if you are able to reconcile. There is one exception to reconciling, and I'll get into that exception a little later. Every school in the Kentucky Tech Schools database actually has a list of absence excuses that they can use, whether it's, this is a basic list of what is listed here. If it's an excused absence, if it's a school approved absence, if it's a snow day, a tardy, unexcused, and then I even have a code in there for you to show that the student stayed back at the high school. So you can use those codes to help when you reconcile if you want to. What most attendance clerks do in the high schools is when they reconcile their attendance is they will reconcile all their attendance to be unexcused absences. Or unexcused events, and then they go back in after they start getting doctor's notes and parent notes and things like that, and that's when they make them excused. Exception to that would be, like, let's say a whole group of kids are out because they're on a field trip. So then you know that that's an excused event. So then you would reconcile that those records, those unknown records, to be excused events, and then you can make a comment if you want to show that they're at a field trip. There's lots of different scenarios you can use as far as using attendance excuses. Excuse notes can be entered in the technical school, and copies can be kept on file, but just know that the original note has to be sent to the student's home high school, because the high school is the one that has to process that final attendance for those students. Just keep in mind, think of it this way. The high school is the authoritative source for attendance for that student. It's like the high school is the primary person that maintains attendance records, and their attendance is actually what gets reported to the state. But on the technical school side, any attendance maintained on the attendance database, it's not reported to state. However, it is subject to audit by the state, and it is important to keep track of where your kids are for safety purposes as well. So that's why it's important to, reconcile your attendance if you possibly can at the technical school. So processing excused attendance at the ATC will be helpful for teachers as well, because that will help them to decide if a student should be granted the ability to do makeup work. All right, so then we also have the daily attendance screen. This daily attendance screen, it's like a one place where you can go to look at all your students who have been marked absent on that day. And you can actually, when you go to this report, you can actually go back in time if you need to look at previous days. Now let's show you the difference between unknown absences and rectified and reconciled absences. If you see up here, here's the little key. Anything in yellow is an unknown absence. If it's green, it's excused. Red means it's unexcused, and gray means it's exempt. So if you see yellow absences down through here, that means that is an unknown absence. That means that teacher posted, and like what I said a little bit ago, they don't know that where the kid is. They just know that kid's not a warm body sitting in their classroom. So that's why you see the yellow. If you decide to reconcile and you go in and you change these unknown absences into unexcused and excused absences, then that's when you'll see them changing to different colors. But this daily attendance view here basically just, gives you an opportunity to see a list of all the students who've been marked absent or tardy through the day. And you can actually edit students' attendance from the screen if you want to. So what you would do is you can click on the blue details link next to the student and view the summary report. But if you want to actually edit the student's attendance, you would actually click on the attendance code So obviously names have been blocked out here, but you would click on the attendance code and it would take you, the edit screen would pop up and allow you to edit that particular attendance record. So this is a valid way of actually editing student attendance, but it's not the most efficient way of editing student attendance. And you can't add any student attendance records from this view either. You can only edit student attendance from this view. Okay, there is also the ability to print off a substitute attendance roster. If you have substitutes in your building and they don't have access to Infinite Campus, you can go, you know, if you know a teacher's absent, you can print off a sub-attendance roster report and allow that and hand that to the substitute to allow that substitute teacher to mark attendance, and then they can have that report sent up to the office, and that can assist you in keeping track of attendance when it comes to substitutes. Okay, so here is the classroom monitor. The classroom monitor is, like I said before, it's used to verify that teachers have actually taken period attendance. So anything in green shows that the attendance has been recorded. Anything in pink shows the attendance has not been recorded. And so all teachers, even those with 100% perfect attendance, should still save their and post their attendance for every class that they teach. That's the law. So, and clerks, like I said, you all can use the substitute attendance roster to enter attendance through the classroom monitor if you want to. So here's what the classroom monitor looks like. It lists the teacher with the actual next to it. This is the courses that they teach per period. Anything you see in green means that the teacher has already posted attendance, and it's showing here that 16 out of 17 kids are present. Okay, we go down through here and we see anything in red or pink shows that that teacher has not posted attendance. And so it looks like this teacher would need to get a call and saying you didn't post attendance for second or third or fourth period at this point. Maybe it's a substitute. If it's a substitute, then you as the attendance clerk can actually go directly to this classroom monitor, click on the course here, and it will bring up a roster of the students, and from there you can take attendance yourself. So this is a valid way in which you, as the administrative assistant, can take attendance for students or for any teachers, or make any kind of adjustments. If the teacher says, I posted attendance and I marked Johnny absent, but Johnny is actually here, is there any way you can fix that? Then you could go to that teacher's classroom, click on that period, and make that adjustment. Okay, and that's the classroom monitor. You should be looking at this classroom monitor throughout the day, at least every period, just so you can make sure your teachers are doing what they need to do as far as attendance. Okay, the best way for you guys to reconcile attendance is to do it through the attendance wizard. So you can use the attendance wizard to mark all of your first period unknown attendance as unexcused absences throughout the day. So that way you won't see all of those unknown A's. It will capture any accidental teacher who's marked first period tardies. You can use this to process attendance for multiple students, such as late buses or field trips. Or yeah, if let's say you service multiple districts, it's the wintertime, one of your districts is out for a snow day, another district decided to send students. So you want to mark all of those students that are out for a snow day in Infinite Campus so you can keep track of that. You can do that in one process by going through the attendance wizard. You can process attendance that's based on date ranges. And like I said, it's the quickest way to validate attendance or reconcile attendance, but it is easy to override existing attendance. So you have to be mindful when you are using the attendance wizard. So the attendance wizard, actually the layout has changed very little over the years. You'll notice it's broken down into 3 parts. The first part is the student information section. So in this section, you can search for students individually by their last name. You can search for students by grade. You can actually also use an ad hoc filter. So this is really helpful in the case where I told you a minute ago about the districts, the different districts. If you service more than one high school or one district, then you can create ad hoc filters to segregate those students that will allow you to mark those groups of students absent at one time. So the ad hoc filter feature is very handy to use. And what I've done for you guys is on the KTS Data Exchange webpage, under user resources, I've given you all a student feeder school ad hoc query that you can actually add to your Infinite Campus account for every school that you teach. I mean, yeah, every school or every district that you teach, you can create one. And that would be a really helpful tool to use, a really helpful query for you to use in the attendance wizard. And so if you had that ad hoc query created, you could click on this drop-down box, select your ad hoc filter, hit search, and it would bring up a list of all of the students that attend ABC High School. And if you had kids that came from XYZ High School, it would leave those out of this search result. And then, so if you had ABC High School all listed here, then you would select all of them, and then you could go down here and give them a whole day attendance code for field trip or snow day or whatever attendance code you would be interested in providing for them. That's section 1. Section 2 allows you to pull students by attendance information. So if you want, I mean, you've got different scenarios here that you can select by periods, by time, you know, and so forth. But this right here where it says status excuse, this is how you would pull all your unknown kids. So if you go to this one and you actually click on the second box, and that's for excuse, and you hit the drop down there, you can select unknown. And if you select unknown, then hit search, then it will bring up a list of all of the kids in your school that has been marked as unknown, absent today in your building. And like I said, if you selected the period bullet here, then it would bring up a checkboxes for all of your periods. So you could select period 1 and then select unknown, and it would bring up all of the kids that were marked unknown for first period. You could select all of them, go to whole day, and make it unexcused absence or unexcused event, and then it would that would reconcile those unknown attendance records in 1 minute, less than a minute. So that is the attendance information section. So that's how these 2 sections are how you would search for students in order to select them and batch set them. You can use your control click or shift click keys in order to batch edit those student data. And then under section 3, this is where you would input the actual attendance information. This is where you would say, I want to input check-in checkouts, or maybe I want to do for multiple days, maybe I want to do whole day attendance. If you're doing check-in, checkouts, this is where you would put your times in, times out. If you're doing whole days, you would just skip down here to your attendance code. This is where your drop-down box for you to select the specific attendance code you want. Then you've got your comment box. And remember I said earlier, any comments that you make shows up on reports. So, but you can add this a comment here, and it will actually show up on your teacher's record as well. So if you know that a whole group of students is going to be out for a field trip, you can put field trip here, and it's going to show up so the teachers will know. It will also show up on the KTS Attendance Report for the high school. When the high schools run this report, they'll see those comments there. And then you have the option to overwrite existing records, or if you already have existing records in there, do not overwrite. So what this means is, let's say you've got a whole group of students that are out for a field trip, but previously, a couple days ago, Johnny told you that he's actually going to be out for surgery. So you went ahead in advance and you marked him sick. And you marked him as an excused absence. And so what will happen is, if you go in here and select all the students that were marked unknown, it will not overwrite that excuse that you already had in there. So that's what that means. Do not overwrite. So then you save, and then that's how you can enter attendance in a very quick way. The attendance wizard is the preferred way to reconcile attendance. Okay, and so these next slides go into detail of what I just went over with you about the different sections and what they do. This goes in a little bit more detail about the screenshots, about the actual input of student attendance information. And that's pretty much it for the attendance wizard. So we've already talked about resolving unknown attendance as well, changing unknown attendance to excused absences. And so I'm just going to kind of go into a little bit more detail about that. So if a student is not present when first period begins, the teacher should mark that student absent unless they know what's going on with that student. Even if the student shows up late with a tardy slip, the teacher should mark the student as absent. And then the attendance clerk would then go back in and modify the tardy later to make it accurate. Attendance clerks will use the attendance wizard to turn all first period attendance, unknown attendance, into unexcused absences. And this process is known as validating or reconciling attendance. So this goes through how to change unknown attendance into unexcused absences. It's exactly what I just told you all a minute ago. You go to the attendance information section on the attendance wizard, and then you select the periods bullet. And then when you do that, your periods will show up, and you check the period 1 checkbox. And then you make sure under excuse, you select unknown. And that's going to bring a list of all of your students in your school who have been marked as unknown attendance for first period. And this is what it looks like if you marked things correctly. Okay, and so then after you have that list of students, you will say select all. You will select all those students, and then you'll scroll down to the input attendance information section, and this is where you will mark your whole day attendance. Okay, after you have done that, after you've pressed OK, if you are overriding, it will double check and make sure you want to overwrite attendance, existing attendance, and then you'll get a flash, and then it'll save those results and give you a list of students that have been marked from unknown to unexcused. And you can just click that little red X of the results to save it. So now we're going to talk about editing attendance, and we've already kind of went through a lot of that earlier, but I'm just going to kind of skim through it again. So you can edit attendance using the daily attendance screen, the student attendance tab, and you can also edit attendance through the attendance wizard as well. You just want to be careful if you do. I feel like if you're going to do it through the attendance wizard, you really need to be secure and confident in your abilities to navigate through attendance wizard to edit attendance, as far as like deleting and stuff. Editing student attendance through the daily attendance screen, we've already talked about that. You can navigate to the daily attendance screen and you would click on the actual attendance record, the actual attendance, like if it says unknown, you can click on that. You can click on the click here to mark the whole day absent hyperlink. And then you go through the process of, selecting your attendance code, and then, adding comments if you want to add comments, and then saving the record. So on a general basis, it's best practices to use the student attendance tab to edit a student's individual attendance record. So this example that we're giving right now, is a student who was absent and had a doctor's note. So he was marked previously as an unexcused absence, and so now you've got a doctor's note and you're going back in there and you're going to mark that student as excused. So when you create the excused code, then what that does is it will turn, so it'll turn anything that says unexcused, absent, unexcused to excused. You can also delete absences, but you have to be careful and make sure you're always careful to verify that you're on the correct student and the correct day, because you just don't want to go in there willy-nilly and deleting absences. You have to, double check. I mean, I know I used to work in a school office just like you guys, and I'm telling you, I know how busy it can be, how interruptions happen throughout the day, and things like that. So sometimes, you go to do something and then somebody interrupts you, a phone call or somebody walks in the door, and then you come back and you kind of like trying to get your bearings again, and it's easy to accidentally click on the wrong thing. So just always be really careful and mindful when you're messing with student attendance. You just don't want to go in and accidentally start deleting stuff that, should not be deleted. Okay, check-in and check-out entries. General check-in and check-out information. Students' check-in and check-out should be processed from either the daily attendance screen or the student attendance tab. You should not do the check-in and check-outs like that from, you can do a mass check-in and check-out from the attendance wizard, but you never want to do process individuals. It's just, you just to be safe, on the safe side, it's better to go through either the individual students attendance tab or the daily attendance screen to do it. Check-in and check-out should be accurate to what is written in the log and should match the high school record. Teachers should never mark students tardy first period. The student should be marked absent, and then the clerk will change the record to the appropriate code, depending on if the student did come in tardy. Technical school clerks must maintain check-in and check-out logs and share them with the feeder high schools. And if you're ever audited by the state, they're going to ask to see your check-in and check-out logs. If they're paper logs, that's fine. If they're virtual logs, that's fine. You'll just have to make sure you direct them to where you keep those logs. So check-in and check-out using the student's attendance tab is usually the most efficient way in order to record check-in and check-outs if a student leaves early for a doctor's appointment or whatever. So you just go directly to the student's attendance tab, and you can click on the student's record, And then at that point, you can select if it's check in or check out. Then you would select the appropriate attendance code, and then you can add comments if you like, and then you'll select add. Deleting a check-in and check-out record, same thing. If it's been added to the wrong student or on the wrong day, the record can be deleted. And the student's attendance record for the day returned to present. You can do that. You can delete that. There's an X. If you go into the student's record, there's an X. You would select the X and then save, and that would delete the record. Okay, here's that ad hoc query that I was telling you about. Like I said, it's back on the KTS Data Exchange webpage under User Resources. It's called Student Feeder School Ad Hoc Query. And basically it's a basic, really basic query. All you have to do is follow the directions. There's number directions. I believe there's also pictures that you go through, and you can use that ad hoc query for lots of different kinds of reports, not just for attendance wizard. You can use it for rosters. You can use it for report cards. You can use it for a lot of different things. Then we have the KTS Attendance Report. This is a real-time report that has been created just for the KTS Data Exchange. And so what this report does, when I say real-time, is when a teacher hits post or save when a student is absent, and they go in and they mark the student absent and they hit save. As soon as they hit save, that attendance is showing. It's unknown attendance, but it's showing it will show on the report. And the attendance clerk at the high school could actually run this report in their database, and the report will actually show that this teacher marked this student absent today. Same thing in your side, you can run this report as well. It's located under Kentucky State Reporting, Edit Reports, and then there's two reports, the KTS Attendance and the KTS Attendance by School. They give off the same data. The only difference is if you have multiple high schools in the same district, you probably would want to use the KTS Attendance by School. And when you do that, if you do attendance by school, then it will allow you to select the actual school instead of the whole district. And running this KTS attendance report, there's not an example here that I see. I didn't allow, but basically it's just going to give you a basic overview of the student that has been marked absent, the student's name, if they've been marked absent, what period they've been marked absent in, and then if there's any comments next to the student's record. Okay, so the last thing I believe is that I want to talk to you about is the KTS unknown attendance syncing. That is like a special tool. It's an optional feature that if your high school wants to utilize, they have the option to utilize this. And so what this does is if a teacher at the technical school posts their period attendance and it's unknown attendance, then in this case, excuse me, the clerical person at the technical school would leave that attendance as unknown for that day. They would not reconcile attendance. And then that night, the KTS Data Exchange would grab all the unknown attendance and sync it over into the high school database and dump it in there. And then the next morning, the attendance clerk would pull a list using the attendance wizard of the previous day unknown attendance and reconcile it. Now, I will admit that there are only a handful of high schools that actually utilize this attendance sync because they don't like to have a previous day attendance. They want to be able to have their attendance in their database on that day. So it's difficult for them to even think about not processing attendance during the current day that they're in and waiting until the next day. So there's not a lot of high schools that do this, but if you have a high school that does this, the only way for them to receive the unknown attendance is if you at the technical school do not reconcile your your attendance for that day. Now you can go in and reconcile the next day after the unknown attendance has synced. You can do that, but you would always be kind of a day behind as well. So there's advantages and disadvantages. This talks about unknown attendance from the technical school in previous days. Teachers' attendance from the technical school will show up in yellow, and that is what will sync. But it will not overwrite any attendance that has been added into any like reconciled attendance that is already in the high school. It will not overwrite that data. And the high school people need to know that their classroom monitors will never reflect a technical school attendance. So then they would use the next day, they would use their attendance wizard they would go back to the previous day, they would pull all unknown attendance and reconcile that attendance at that time. And to set this up, your high school would have to go into their database, follow the instructions here, and click on the synchronized tech center attendance. And they would have to reach out to their technical school and let them know this is what we're doing. So that's pretty much all that I have for you guys. I hope this information was helpful. And if you have any questions, I know this says KTS support at education.ky.gov, but actually, if you could email me directly, tanya.fluke@education.ky.gov, because I'm not really using that KTS support email address anymore if you have questions about attendance. Other than that, I really do appreciate your time. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference and the rest of your work week.